it in. We broke down the door, we came to win. TLA Season 4, it's a whole new game. We the agents of change, whole new scope with a whole new range. It didn't exist, so we built our own lane. We all knew the risk, it's a cold-ass game. But first and foremost, we reppin' the fans because we nothing but fans living out our dreams. Crossing the pond with these 32 teams. There's only one road and there's only 5 kings.
Thank you for visiting. Thank you for visiting. 32 Kings Road, hosted by the League Ambassadors. I'm Ambassador Kenny Ken.
I'm too sober for this shit.
And, it is my pleasure to be here today with my brothers. This is episode 67 of our podcast. As a reminder, you can follow us everywhere on social media. Our handle is @TheLeagueAM. That's Twitter, that's Facebook, that's Instagram. Also, please subscribe to our YouTube channel, League Ambassadors. Check out our website, theleagueam.com. And finally, follow us on Twitch. Our handle there is also The League AM. We've got a good show today. We've got our first run at Moments in Hendeg. That's our history segment. We're going to talk about the franchises, the historical franchises of the Chicago Bears and the Oakland Raiders. We'll also cover some hot topics. We've got a new entry for our S. Carter Collective, and we are definitely going down a rabbit hole. But first, Dad, what you sipping on, sir?
I'm sipping on this pale ale, and I'm sipping on the ability to change. I've talked about on both of our podcasts how ESPN, when it comes to their boxing coverage, they are riding these top-ranked fighters hard like the dicks that they want to ride. But last night, they proved to me that they can change. Last night, ESPN was getting roasted about their down-and-distance graphic being yellow during the Monday Night Football game. It looked like a penalty was on every play, so they were killing them on social media. So they changed that shit by halftime. So maybe they can change the commentary that's going on in boxing. We can only pray for that.
All right. I, too, am sipping on some Pale Ale. And staying with you, Ambassador Dad, I'm sipping on...
Not on the riding part, though.
These... Nah. You on your own with that one, brother. These NFL refs going down to New Orleans, let me tell you something. If there is a place where you need to get the calls right, where you need to manage the game properly, it's got to be in New Orleans. What they did at the end of the first half was a fiasco, and thankfully Will Lutz saved those refs from being roasted yet again. Kev, what you sipping on, sir?
Gentlemen, I am sipping on what's left of this handle of Captain from our last family get-together that I took home with me. But I am sipping on the 30 for 30 for Mr. Dennis Rodman, for better or for worse. It is a mandatory must-watch for anyone, not even just basketball fans, but sport fans in general. I mean, it really sheds a light on just the time that he played and lived in. I think people of certain ages don't, but you forget how crazy the 90s were. And then just to see someone in his position, just someone who's naturally introverted, to get thrust into the spotlight like that, all the fame and fortune and expectation, and just how it's hard for someone with that the type of personality to adjust. But it's a must watch if you get a chance.
Junior Blue.
You know what? I don't have nothing to drink today, but that's all right. Last week was my birthday, and y'all did a little segment about me, so watch me hit you with this one. I'm sipping on the fact the Steelers culture is real rapey.
And that's my confirmation.
Times 2.
Oh, run it back.
From quarterback to receiver.
Damn. Dynamic duo.
Red O, what you sipping on, sir?
Surprisingly, I am sipping on some black coffee because I've had a lot of liquor between Thursday and the Bears losing and Monday Night Football. It was a long weekend.
Testify.
So, but I'm also sipping on the fact that Monday, the California State Assembly
overwhelmingly passed a bill that would allow California college athletes to actually make money on and control their name and their image, which is not allowed currently by the NCAA. And that bill will go into effect if Governor Newsom signs it in 2023. Now, in June, NCAA President Mark Emmert, I believe that's his name, sent a letter to...
A.K.A. Barzini.
Right. He sent a letter to the California State Assembly threatening that if this bill was passed and moved forward, that all California colleges would be banned from playing in any NCAA championships. And basically, California said, ban these nuts. And they went through.
Is that what they said?
Yes. and they passed the bill. Now it's up to Governor Newsom to sign it, which he probably will. Now, this sets up a clash of the titans from the biggest gangsters in the NCAA and the sixth biggest economy in the world. Now, the question I go to you guys is who blinks first and where do we go from here? Kenyon?
Well, California's definitely not blinking first. The NCAA will blink because they threatened, and one of the things that they said, I think in June, was that, if California went ahead with this law, that then it would result in all California universities being banned from NCAA tournaments, which...
There's 12 Division I schools in California.
It's not happening. Okay. So what is going to happen, and that what they also said at the same time that they came out with that, they said, I think they put together a group, the NCAA did, a small group in May to study the issue. So what's going to happen from this study is
Kick the can.
Is there right? This study is going to yield a result that shows that there's going to be some level of compromise between the NCAA and the state of California, and then when that happens, Pandora's box will open, and states will then begin to follow suit. That's what's going to happen.
I think every other state is waiting like, what you doing?
Because California is the gorilla.
Does another state jump in early?
I think North Carolina did something similar, because we actually talked about this on Confirmation Bias back in June, right when it happened. It was one of our Black versus Blue segments, so we didn't dive into it too much. I think North Carolina did, but obviously they're not big enough. If Texas or Florida were to do that,
Texas ain't.
I mean, you're right.
You're
probably right.
But they are, because what's going to happen now? What happens, and I think, and not for nothing, the NCAA, obviously we know how crooked of an organization it is, but I think for them, one of the biggest reasons why they're so against this is because it does now create an unfair recruiting advantage for schools in California. So Texas may not want to do it for whatever reason, but they're not going to have a choice, because if you're going after a 5-star athlete and you are the University of Texas, and I can go to USC and also make money off of my name and my likeness, guess what? The scales have been tipped in the favor, and then that's going to create so states are not going to have a choice but to follow suit is where this is headed. It's a huge day.
This is literally what the Civil War was about.
Oh shit!
I'm serious about it though. It's people talking about having ownership over the fruits of their labor compared to someone who has owned it and reaped the benefits from it for decades. And I think it's interesting to see, to piggyback off of Ken's point though, from now until I think it was, what did they say, it was 2023 or something like that, it will come into play, how those who currently benefit from how this is designed, how they'll operate, knowing that at some point this is going to come to a head. Do they try to at least get the most that they can get out of the current construct? Like, do teams change the way they market, how boosters operate? I mean, we get every week almost, it's like some scandal of a school or player or agent, somebody getting paid because of the way that this dynamic is set up to exploit players. And I just hope, I pray to God that other people get behind this so players can finally get something off of what they've created for the culture of college sports.
Watch Texas ending up being the Juneteenth state. Being the last one that comes out.
I mean, they hold the big chips.
You don't think that's Alabama?
or Mississippi. Like,
Let's keep it historic. Keep it accurate. I mean, what kind of a world do we live in where in 2019 that we're actually still arguing about this? Like, okay, you cannot pay amateur athletes, but they are literally selling their jerseys in the bookstore. We know who number 5 is. We don't have to have their name behind it. And they literally get to sell that for millions of dollars, and that guy can't get a job during the season or get taken out to dinner by his coach. Like, this is absolutely preposterous.
It's going to get more expensive for EA Sports. I mean,
Well, they stopped making those games.
yeah, no more.
Those are done.
Oh, really?
All the college sports games are done. They stopped doing them. I want to say like
the funny thing
2028.
Coach K.
The funny thing is, you don't hear too much from the colleges. The NCAA is doing all the speaking, but Stanford, like, sent a dissenting letter.
They did.
Yeah.
Yes, and it made me think about it. Colleges don't want this to happen because it ain't just NCAA as an organizational body. Because then colleges have to change how they operate.
That's absolutely right.
And they can afford to be quiet and let the NCAA be the bad guy, but they don't want this to
They don't want
change
to pay
either.
It's easy
And
money.
we've talked about athletes and activism as we did to open the season, but I don't know if anyone saw the Draymond Green tweet. He shout out California, extremely excited about the bill that passed tonight, allowing players to get paid. Kids going to sleep hungry, can't afford anything, yet these universities are profiting off the same kids. Things that we talked about, but I think if professional players with these platforms get behind something like this, then I think that adds another element because they've been through it. So they share these horror stories about what it's like not being able to eat at a certain time, but having to get up and practice and pretty much dedicate the prime of your life to an institution where you get nothing out of it. I mean, call it an education, but you really get nothing out of it. I think it'd be great. I just hope more people like Draymond, people who have power, continue to speak up about it.
LeBron did, so did Bernie Sanders, but we knew Bernie was
Shit, it should be called the Ed O'Bannon bill.
right.
Tell you the truth.
All right, let's get to Moments in Hand Egg, our history segment. For those of you that are just checking us out for the first time, the League Ambassadors, we exist because we are looking to engage global fans of popular American sports. So here on 32 Kings Road, we like to pay special attention to the teams that do participate in the NFL's International Series. And so for today's show, we're going to take some time out and talk about the history of the Chicago Bears and the Oakland Raiders. Today's prompt is thinking about the history of these two franchises, and we will start with the Chicago Bears first. What is the one word that comes to mind? This ought to be fun. For a little context, the Chicago Bears are an American football franchise. They're actually one of the charter members of the National Football League. They have played in all of the league's 100 seasons, which is a big reason why this season began in Chicago. The Bears have captured 9 NFL championships. It's been forever since the last one. 8 NFL championships and 1 Super Bowl, second most all time, behind the Green Bay Packers. The franchise has also recorded more victories than any other franchise with 739. They've retired the most uniform numbers with 14 and have the most members in the Pro Football Hall of Fame with 27. I don't think that we can begin this segment any other way except to begin it with Red-O, who is a Chicago Bears fan. Red-O, give me the one word that comes to mind when you think about your Chicago Bears.
Quarterback.
This is interesting.
With all that history you just gave, the Chicago Bears probably have the worst quarterback history of all time. It is horrendous.
Yeah.
Since 1960, the Chicago Bears have one quarterback that has played more than 80 games with the team.
This is why Omar was sober, because he wanted to have his notes. He was gonna ace this test.
Listen, just for context, the Dallas Cowboys since 1960 have 5 quarterbacks that have started more than 80 games with the team. We have 1, and that's fucking Jay Cutler.
Is he the best quarterback in the franchise history?
Statistically, yes.
Is he on the Mount Rushmore?
There
when we
are-
get to that?
There is not a quarterback on the Mount Rushmore. And then we even have the worst first round pick we've ever used on a quarterback in Cade McNown. Just to show you, listen.
He messing with you. Don't take the bait.
They were the 12th pick, and there were 5 quarterbacks taken before Cade McNown. And we still took him. Like, the first round, we still took the 5th quarterback off the board. And he didn't last 2 years.
What was that, 98?
It was horrible. But that's just our history. We're known for defense.
Yeah.
We're known for running backs.
Right.
No one has ever been said the Bears are known for quarterbacks. And I think that's the one thing that is a problem with the Bears is we've never been able to get the quarterback right.
Interesting.
And that's the one thing that's made it really hard.
Interesting. Maybe that explains why you haven't won a Super Bowl in 20.
Oh, yeah. I mean, 06 we got there with Sexy Rexy, but that's because we had
24.
Kev.
Hey, so my word is retrospective.
Okay.
Meaning looking in the past. And to all the points that Omar brought up, when you mention the Chicago Bears, at least for me personally, I think of Walter Payton, Mike Singletary, Mike Ditka, the Super Bowl Shuffle. Walter Payton retired 3 years before I was born. And that's who I still think of in terms of the identity of this team. And I just feel like since then, of course, every franchise, especially one as history as the Bears, has their golden years, their golden era. But to me, I mean, the Mount Rushmore for Chicago Bears probably ended in the mid-'80s. And I think the trouble has been since then really we talk about identities for teams and, what do they hang their hat on? I think it's been hard for Chicago to get back to that point. And speaking of history, I still can't believe this is a fact. I'm going to double check it again after the show. But from 1933, which is when playoffs games started, to 2018, which is 85 years, the Chicago Bears have won 17 playoff games in 85 years. And not to compare things to Baltimore. I know Omar hates when people do that, but the Ravens have been franchise for 23 years, and we have 15 playoff wins. And I'm not comparing one to the other. I'm just saying in 85 years, a franchise with that much history, I think, would have more playoff success. But it's a quarterback-driven league, so to Omar's point, I think I just answered my own question.
You did.
Junior Blue.
To follow up with Kev, mine was actually identity. And every time the Bears have been good, since 1970, they've made the playoffs 15 times, winning one Super Bowl in 85. And it's been 34 years since
thank you.
the Super Bowl.
He's got the numbers.
I mean, mine's longer, so that's coming up.
That's coming up.
But identity to me is every time I think of the Bears and every time they've been good, it's been smash mouth football. It's been Singletary. It's been Urlacher. Now they have Mack. And you're welcome. No problem. And to think about it, since every time they've made the playoffs, except for 4 out of the 15 times, they've been in the top 5 in defense. So their identity is defense. Yes, they stray away. They can't keep those type of players forever. But when they get back to being the Bears, it's defense and running the ball. And bad quarterbacks.
Dad, I feel like this is quietly shit on the Bears.
I mean,
Hey, buddy. I still got to go.
When you're around a long time, a lot of things can happen.
And I'm sober.
And we have more segments.
My word is venerable.
Venerable.
Yeah. For those who don't know, accorded a great deal of respect, especially because of age, wisdom, or character. Kenyon alluded to the fact that the Bears have the most Hall of Fame players with 33. And I really want the Hall of Fame to actually get this right because, like, Orlando Pace was listed as one of those names. Come on now, he's not a Bear Hall of Famer.
Dog, just move on.
No, I'm just saying for every team because they have, like, Rod Woodson should not be a Ravens Hall of Famer. He's a Steelers Hall of Famer. Like, it should be the team you cut your teeth with.
I didn't even remember that Orlando Pace was a Bear.
1 year, 2009.
Wow.
Yeah.
Was that his last year?
I hope so.
I don't think he played
Obviously, a forgettable one.
Oh, he was done.
But they have only had 6 players that have played of that 33 after the 80s.
Urlacher being the last one.
Yeah. So they have so much history. One of the only teams that's played in 100 years of the entire league, all 100 seasons. And they have all these championships, second most, but it's all back in the past. And we respect them. Hollis is the grandfather of the league, damn near. But the identity thing, they can't get out of that old mode. They'll pop up every now and then, and it'll be the same thing, but nothing's recent.
Stale.
I wouldn't say stale. It's more like a museum. Great. You can't. Walter Payton, Gale Sayers, 2 of the best running backs ever to play this game. Some of my favorite highlight tapes, but it's just so long ago.
Like the Usher Raymond of the NFL. This is it's okay.
It's funny. I really looked into this, and
Did you?
I did. The word that comes to mind for me is borrowers. So let's go back to the very beginning. The Bears were originally called the Decatur Staleys, and they changed their name to the Bears because of the Chicago Cubs, 1922. The Bears have played at Soldier Field since 1971, but prior to that, for nearly 50 years, they played at Wrigley Field, the home of the Cubs. The team colors, they borrowed the blue and the orange from the University of Illinois because George Halas is an alum of there. The C, the iconic C logo, was borrowed actually from 2 different teams, from the Cardinals, who left town in 1959, and the University of Chicago, who got rid of their football team in the late 30s. The term Monsters of the Midway, that actually originated from the Chicago Maroons, a former football team that folded in 1930. The T formation, which the Bears are widely known as the first professional team to employ that offensive formation. And for those of you that don't know what that is, that's where the quarterback is under center, and in the middle is a running back, and then he is flanked by either 2 other running backs or by a fullback and a running back. A formation made popular, I would say, amongst modern football by the University of Notre Dame under Lou Holtz when Jerome Bettis was there. But the T formation, which was a formation that was used for probably one of their most iconic victories, and that's the 1940 NFL Super Bowl. They beat Washington, or NFL championship game, wasn't the Super Bowl yet, NFL championship game. They beat the team from Washington 73-0 because they unveiled the T formation in that game. That actually,
what is that?
that actually came from Clark Shaughnessy, a coach from Stanford University. It was actually invented by Walter Camp. So when I think about the Chicago Bears and their franchise history, and you talk about identity, I think a lot of it is for a team that has been around for as long as you've talked about, Devin, since the very beginning of time. A lot of the things that they have now come to be defined by, a lot of it was borrowed.
You could have done better, dog. That was good. Waiting for the punchline. All right.
That is the punchline.
He was just doing the facts.
Omar was in pain the whole time.
Let's go to the S. Carter Collective. This is our segment where we, since Jay-Z is in bed with the NFL, we figure we just draw a correlation every week. Get in there with him.
That's only right.
Dad, take it away.
Where's my pom-poms?
All right. So all we've heard all off season is that the Cleveland Browns have arrived. Last week, most of us were on that. We were sipping that Kool-Aid as well. We thought that they would come out and win. Only one of us didn't pick them in our picks. The talk around town is Browns are going to win the AFC North. Super Bowl or bust. And the question that we had, at least on the show, was how are they going to deal with expectations? With expectations comes pressure. Now, Jay-Z was featured on a song called Pressure by Lupe Fiasco. And the Browns fans are called the Dog Pound. And some of the lyrics go like this. I'm back for these puppies with the pound, boy. Here's a round, boy. Down, boy. The Browns were spanked at home on their home opener by 30. 30 points to the Titans, which means you can't walk on my shoes. Too much green. You can't talk in my hue. The Browns finished 5-3 after firing Hugh Jackson last year, who they blamed all the issues on. But then they went on and hired an unexperienced head coach. Week 1, they opened up with 18 penalties. And then Baker threw 3 fourth-quarter interceptions. And now they're just the Browns.
Can't talk in my hue.
I'm pretty sure Jay has at least 20 cooking in the kitchen lines in there because Freddie wasn't cooking.
Yeah, well, them puppies weren't biting either.
Browns going Browns.
Okay, I just want to know what the four of you thought was going to happen with the Browns. I mean, listen, with all due respect, they have talent. I think they're going to be good this year. They're going to probably win double-digit games. But they've lost 14 straight home openers coming into this year. Why would this year change?
Kevin just wants to take this opportunity to point out that
exactly.
he was the only one that picked. How are you going to say they're probably going to win double-digit games and then say how we picked Cleveland to win?
Because it's a week-to-week league. And if there's any week you don't pick the Cleveland Browns, it's week 1.
Yeah, I mean, they've got their listen. They have to. It's funny, and I was talking to a Cleveland Brown fan last week, and I was saying usually when you go from being the hunter to the hunted, you've had some sort of like real success. Like either you actually win the whole thing, or you at least get to the championship, or you get to the playoffs even. They didn't have any of that, but yet they went from being the hunter to the hunted simply because of offseason great moves. They had a good draft. They added defense. Obviously, we know who they added on offense. And your leader, the leader of your team, is a second-year quarterback. That pressure that you're talking about, Dev, it's going to be very interesting to see how they handle that. I mean, on paper, they should be a double-digit win team, Kev. And like you said, it is week to week. But, there's more of the sort of intangible element that I think that they're going to have to deal with. So let's get back to Moments in Hendag. Now let's go to Junior Blues Oakland Raiders. The Oakland Raiders are a professional American football franchise. They're based in Oakland, but they've been in Los Angeles. They've played in San Francisco. They're on their way to Vegas. They're part of the American Football Conference. They also were initially an AFL team. Let's see. Junior Blue, we will start with you. What's the one word that comes to mind when you think about the Raiders?
Tortured. Look at it like this. They started in the NFL in 1970 in Oakland. In 82, when I was 5, they moved to LA. So I become a fan.
He's going to make this real personal.
Yeah, it is personal. It is personal because it's personal for a lot of us.
I'm speaking for the people.
Speaking for Raider Nation right now.
His voice cracking up.
Yeah! So they're in LA from 1982 to 95 when I graduated high school. So this is my team.
Symmetry.
Right? And in that time, from 1970, I'm gonna take half of LA to 1988. 19 years. They won 3 Super Bowls. In the playoffs 12 times with 15 winning seasons. Now, this is where the tortured part comes in. Since 1988, we've had 31 years.
Somebody get this man a
right?
Kleenex.
Yes, because I'm about to tear up a little bit.
And a shot.
It's been 31 years. We've had 1 Super Bowl appearance. Some might say we didn't show up. Barrett Robbins. We've had 7 playoff appearances and 8 winning seasons. And yeah, well, no, that happens. So yeah, basically it's tortured. We went from when I was young, they were the team to beat. 3 championships in 7 years. And we turn around and we've made the playoffs 7 times in the last 31 years. And we were bounced. Last time was 2016, bounced in the first round. Time before that was 2002. We made it to the Super Bowl and didn't show up, or the other coach knew our plays. So yeah, torture.
All of your plays.
Redo.
My one word is Al. Speaking of Al Davis, the venerable deceased owner, there's probably 2 teams in the league where you can say Al, and you know who he is, or Jerry.
Yep.
There are probably 2 owners in the history of the NFL where their team is a reflection of them. Like the Patriots, it's Belichick, not Kraft. You know, as great as that franchise is, no one thinks about Kraft. They think about Belichick. Al Davis is the soul, was the soul of the Raiders. The just win baby, the wearing all black pajama jumpsuits, whatever. You know, Al Davis had his way. He bucked the system. He didn't care what the NFL said. He did what he wanted to do. He was a pirate, and that's what they are. And then when I think of the Raiders, I think of Al Davis.
Autumn Breeze is a Raider.
Well, to piggyback off of that, my word is impenitent, which, yes, I will be collecting $3 from each of you. But it means not feeling shame or regret about one's actions or attitudes. And if anyone rides or dies black and silver, is Raider fans, man, because whether they're good or they aren't, or if they're in LA or San Fran or Vegas, I mean, you guys, y'all really hold that team down. And I personally said this over the weekend. You deserve better than this. But you are choosing this torture, and you don't deserve it. But to kind of put into perspective some of the notes that you mentioned, Les, that from 1967 to 1987, which was 20 years, they had 14 consecutive winning seasons and only had 2 losing seasons in that 20-year span. But in the last 20 years, they've only had 4 winning seasons, 10 different coaches since 2002. So, I mean, to Omar's point, like, yeah, you think of Al, but I mean, he's dead. So, like, hey, man, sometimes you got to put the dirt on it and keep moving your life. And I think that's where the Raiders find themselves.
Oh my God.
Sorry to say that.
Kevin gets the award for the biggest duh.
Is he dead?
Dead. The word that comes to mind for me is rivalry. I think that the Raiders have some of the most fiercest rivalries in their history. And it both goes on the field, off the field. On the field, Kansas City Chiefs, by far, that is the, of all the AFC West battles, some of the greatest games that have happened in the AFC West involve the Raiders going against the Chiefs. The Rams, their LA rival, the rivalry for the city of Los Angeles. The NFL, you talk about Al Davis. Al Davis has sued the NFL the most out of any owner. You talk about Raiders fans versus any other fans. They're fighting them, right?
Steelers,
You've got
Cowboys,
you've got the Jets, particularly in the 60s. Joe Namath got his jaw broke by I think it was 1964. The Immaculate Reception, the Pittsburgh Steelers, another huge rival. But I think everything sort of crystallizes with the New England Patriots. Let's start in 1970. You just slide it in there and you keep it moving. 1978. Patriots wide receiver Darryl Stingley ran into one Mr. Jack Tatum, permanently paralyzed. 1976, New England lost a playoff game to the Raiders because of a controversial penalty by the head referee. Well, now we fast forward to 2002, and the Raiders has already been talked about. That's the famous tuck rule game with the New England Patriots. You also have Randy Moss, You also now have, let's bring it to 2 days ago, Antonio Brown, who a lot of people believe intentionally parlayed his way out of the Oakland Raider organization because he wanted to go to the New England Patriots. So when I think about the Raiders historically, it is a franchise that is had a ton of rivalries. Dad.
Don't forget Al Davis versus Marcus Allen either.
That was part of Kansas City.
That is
Well, I'm talking about the other. My word for them, I mean, it's been mentioned by almost everyone, is nomad, which is a member of people that have no permanent abode. They don't know how to sit still. So they started out in Oakland, I think in '70, moved to LA in '82, stayed there for a little bit, moved back to Oakland, and now they're about to go to Vegas next season.
flirted with San Antonio in between there.
Yes, they did. They
San Diego.
Flirted with San
They were
Diego.
definitely pulling their skirt up, showing legs to those places.
Who won it?
Okay.
We even mentioned like London,
Right.
but yeah, I mean, you can't tell the story of the Raiders without telling about them moving.
I think one thing we've missed so far is a word we could have used is forefront. They have also been on the forefront of a lot of things, hiring coaches of color, women.
Yeah. Amy Trask,
yeah.
Art Shell.
What was the
Tom
Flores?
Tom Flores.
Yes. Al wanted to win, and he didn't care what you look like as long as you can win.
Another word would have been speed.
Yep.
And we're not talking about the drug.
That too.
Speak for yourself.
Shout out to Lazedo. All right, let's get to football tea or hot topic segment. Let's start with week 1 is in the books. I'm so glad football season has begun. And I'll go around. I will start with you, Kev. Give me your best performance, team performance from week 1.
We're going to keep this train going, and I'm going to go with the Oakland Raiders. And I say that just based off of everything that they faced and then the expectation from last night. I mean, I didn't think they'd be able to rise to the occasion given everything that happened, but I don't think anybody would have beat the Patriots. Could have came to town. They were not going to beat the Raiders last night. Carr was protected. They managed to keep Von Miller and Chubbs from touching from David Carr. And I think we talked about this a few years ago when Derek Carr we talked about this a couple years ago in terms of his potential if he has time, if he's healthy. And he was almost an MVP candidate. I'm not going to crown him. I mean, it's one game, division game, but they performed a lot better than I think most people thought, and they deserve credit for it.
Colton Miller and Trent Brown had a really good game.
Great game.
Junior Blue.
Tennessee Titans. Those Browns were crowned in the offseason. Tennessee came into Cleveland, and they, starting in the fourth quarter, they started smacking them around. And they might be getting an identity with Henry back there.
That?
I think you could probably say the Patriots. I think
It was a sound defeat.
it was a sound defeat, and I think it's basically time to stop saying that is a rivalry between them and the Steelers. In order to have a rivalry, which you talked about, it has to be a two-way street.
Right.
Yep.
They continuously fuck them.
Yeah.
That's who I had. I had the Patriots.
Yeah.
I mean, they embarrassed them. I mean, Brady, 341 yards at 800 years old. Like, shit is insane. I mean, their running backs average 5.5 yards and 6.5 yards a run. Like, that's just insane to be that good.
You know what, guys? The Baltimore Ravens.
I wasn't going to say it.
I know you weren't going to say it. I'll say it for you.
Definitely wasn't going to say
To me,
Thank you, Ken.
Yeah, listen, man. I've going back to the end of last season, and I said I was curious. There were two offenses that I was curious about watching. Baltimore Ravens was one of them because I knew that they were going with Lamar, and you had an idea of what their offensive direction was going to be. And I mean, they hit on all cylinders, and they look really good, like really, really good. Like from an offensive standpoint, they are a legitimate Super Bowl contender. And especially when you take into consideration that they have not even begun to show the different layers to this offense. And we know Miami, I'm sure it's going to come up at some point, probably in this next question. We know Miami is a joke of a franchise, and everyone's probably going to look good. But the Baltimore Ravens, they are going to be a force to be reckoned with, definitely on the offensive side of the ball. So with that in mind, the worst performance from week 1, the Miami Dolphins, Junior Blue.
Pittsburgh Steelers. I knew the Dolphins were going to be bad. The Steelers, they had the idea that they lose a top 2 receiver, a top 2 running back, and that their offense is going to be the same.
Nah.
You moved Juju Smith-Schuster from the number 2 wide receiver with AB on the other side, and then move him to the number 1.
Nah.
It's a whole nother world.
Nah.
And he found that out.
Yeah. That.
He found that out quick. I would say that. I mean, I disagree with the Dolphins because we knew what that was. I mean, maybe it would have been 35-0, but they were supposed to lay down. The Steelers, it's supposed to be a rivalry. It's Sunday night football. You score 3 points. The distraction is supposed to be gone. It's supposed to be clear sailing, not a peep out of them. You said that. I don't know if it was confirmation bias or week 1. Like everything should be clear. It should be good. And the same shit happened. The play where everybody was false started and the center didn't move. I mean, people were running, but I mean, it's the Patriots. Yes,
That was the low point, actually.
yeah. It was the Patriots, so you got to take that. But like, people were running butt naked, wide open. Connor can replace Bell. Nope.
21 yards.
Yeah, I mean,
And I think we started to see that towards the end of last season again. Jalen Samuels was the guy that was running the ball for them towards the end of last season. The word impotent, keeping to this one word thing, that's what their offense, that's what the team looked like, that performance. It was an impotent performance.
And then what was Tomlin thinking being down, 20-0 or 17-0 in the third quarter and not going for the fourth and goal?
Because the only thing worse than 33-3 is 33-0, which is where they were headed.
The word
I'm
I would
glad
use
somebody
is
was
embarrassing.
still watching the game at that point.
Red O, worst performance.
Same thing. It was embarrassing.
Kev?
Omar, the first bottle of Highland Earl is on me, but I have to go with the Chicago Bears, man. Look, it's opening night, primetime television, Soldier Field. It's 75 fucking degrees outside. And y'all scored 3 points. And I say this because, and it's no knock, but like this is the team I picked to come out of the NFC. And yes, it's just one game and things can change moving down the line, but you can't do that in what's basically a prove it year, or we're waiting on you, Mitch, to fuck or walk. You can't do that on primetime football, man. You just can't.
All right, Mr. Antonio Brown. Downtown Tony Brown.
Rapey. Not Hollywood.
So let's go back in time. We were on air last Tuesday.
Set the tone.
Then
And the table.
Wednesday, it's reported that Antonio shows up to practice. He doesn't join the team for stretches. He hops in line during passing warm-ups. He catches one pass. He sprints all the way to the touchdown because, hey, I do everything full throttle. And then I launch the football into the fence. And then immediately after that, I see Mr. Mike Mayock, who I'm upset with because I got fined because I knew I was going to get fined because I didn't show up to, most of training camp. And I also missed a walkthrough. I post that on social media, but then I go off and I yell at the GM, screaming all types of vicinities and wanting to fight him.
Cracker.
It's Wednesday. Thursday comes. Thursday, he doesn't show up. From his perspective, he was told not to show up. Friday comes. He apologizes in front of the team, standing up with the team captains. All is well. John Gruden's happy. He's smiling from ear to ear. Hey, Antonio's going to play Monday night. Saturday morning, we're rolling now. Saturday morning is one of the most sophisticatedly produced social media videos I think I've ever seen.
Somebody made a lot of money.
Somebody made a lot of money off of this wonderfully produced clip, basically showing or saying Antonio Brown's message to the Raiders being, release me. I'm working hard. I'm really good. But release me. That was the point of it. And So about an hour or two later, the Raiders oblige and they release him. And then around 4:05 p.m.
Eastern time,
because teams have to wait until 4 o'clock Eastern time before they can even claim him. At 4:05, the news gets out. Antonio Brown is now a New England Patriot. He's getting $9 million in guaranteed money signing bonus. That's the signing bonus. He's got another $1 million lined up in incentives, and there is an option for a second year at $20 million. Okay?
Team option.
Team option. So everybody deals with the shock and all of that, and we will talk about that. And then about 2 hours ago, because you thought the story was over. You thought we were just going to talk about Antonio Brown on New England.
It's like a Woody Allen tragedy.
2 hours ago,
Oh, wow.
it hits the wire that Mr. Antonio Tony Brown,
Mr. Big Chest.
Mr. Big Chest and Big Checks, is being sued civilly for sexual harassment, sexual battery, I should say, of his former trainer, allegedly committing perverse acts in the years 2017 and 2018. This gets released on the same day that he is officially announced as a member of the New England Patriots.
Money in the bank.
So, Kevin, I will start with you and say, what is Bill Belichick saying? Because you know he doesn't know about any of this. He found out when we all found out. What is he saying to himself right now at this moment?
He's probably saying the same thing he said to himself when news came out about Robert Kraft. At the end of the day, was it neither one of these motherfuckers are bigger than him. And neither one of them are going to take down the ship. He's going to keep rolling. They were a Super Bowl contender without Antonio Brown. And although this is a bad look to their current roster of criminal offenders.
the criminal Avengers.
I mean, there you go. I don't think it's really bothering them. Other than just the black eye that this could give the organization. I think at the end of the day, they're still going to play great football regardless.
I think when we do our Moments in Hendex segment, the one word we're all going to have is miscreant. Because this franchise is full of them. Redo?
Miscreant. Oh my God. I think they're not gonna fucking blink. I think the train is rolling, and it ain't nothing anybody can do about it. And unless the NFL suspends him, I think he's going to catch a lot of Tom Brady footballs.
Which has to be an interesting thing, right, Junior Blue? Because now, obviously, the NFL has to investigate. We know that their recent history, they have been extremely heavy-handed in terms of their investigations and in terms of meting out punishment. Ezekiel Elliott had to sit out 4 games, and I think that was when he did when he had the baby girl to show her her breast. How does this play out from that perspective?
Once they do their investigation and they figure out what happened, because she says she has text messages where he brags about the stuff
I've
he
seen
did.
them. She posted them.
I didn't see. So if it comes out and the NFL suspends him, 5 games, 6 games, 7 games, whatever it is, whenever it's over, they bringing him back and he's gonna catch balls from Tom Brady
For the playoff run.
Yeah, exactly.
With Gronkowski? So what does it mean for what's going to happen on the field, Dad? Whenever he gets there.
I mean, it's an embarrassment of riches. Yeah. I mean, I think that he falls in line once that happens. I don't think Gronk's coming back, though. I watched the most recent shop. He's not coming back. I don't think. Either way, they were AFC Championship bound, if not Super Bowl bound. And he's going to fall right in line, and he's going to catch a ton of balls from Tom Brady, just like everybody else did. I don't see this going any other way.
Really? Are they the prohibitive favorite with Antonio Brown?
Without him.
Yeah, I mean,
Kev, you
like I
buying
said
that?
in the season preview, they just went with him. They went from 13-3 to 14-2, 15-1. I don't see anybody beating him.
So last night, to conclude week 1, we had in the first game, we had the Houston Texans going against the New Orleans Saints. The Houston Texans, if they didn't have Bill O'Brien making decisions, and if they didn't have Romeo Crennel sleep at the wheel, probably would have upset the New Orleans Saints. However, they lost 30-28. Will Lutz kicked a 58-yard field goal. The one question I have for you guys, rapid fire for this is Deshaun Watson going to finish this season? 6 sacks last night. They traded for Laramie Tunsil. He did his job, but there are 4 other players on that line. Junior Blue.
He didn't even do his job. Secure the bag was Deshaun Watson, and it's looking shaky.
No.
No.
Kev.
We're all in agreement. I hate to say it. I love the kid, but you can't play football like this.
And he plays like he doesn't want to finish.
I thought he got hurt on the touchdown pass.
For real.
Yeah. Yeah. And then in the second game, we had Junior Blues Oakland Raiders defeat Denver 24-16. Kevin, you talked about how good they looked, and they were your best performance from week 1. Can the Grudens surprise this season with a playoff run? Are they that motivated?
Kenyon, this is a week-to-week league for a reason. Look, it was great, man. Les was happy. Probably hugged his kids and everything. But next week,
Come here,
they
son.
play the Kansas City Chiefs. Then they go to Minnesota, then Indy, then Chicago. Then it gets a little rough. Y'all got y'all win, man. Be happy with what you got. Damn. Move on to next week.
He just said 1-5, Les.
It's a possibility. I don't tell you. It's a possibility.
No, there's 2 other playoff teams in that division.
Yeah, they finished 3rd in the division.
All right.
But one thing the announcer said last night, the Raiders might have the worst schedule in the history of the NFL.
On the history.
Yeah, they said in the
We knew they had the
history
worst
of
one
the
this
NFL.
year. Jeez.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
It's a
Schedule
tough
did no
schedule.
favors.
They need favors. They need injuries from everybody.
Oh, it's because
We
of that
got one.
stretch.
Yeah.
That stretch you
We got one injury. Luck's gone. So
That's
let's
not
see.
good enough, though.
Yeah, I say after October, y'all good, but man,
We still not home. We don't get home till November.
Halloween.
Jesus.
You motherfuckers.
That's right, y'all on the road for.
7 straight weeks, no games in Oakland.
Let's get to the rabbit hole. What's our nominee for the rabbit hole this
Okay.
week, Junior Blue?
The rabbit hole. Well, let's hop on the Browns again. Odell Beckham. I like the lifestyles of the rich and famous like everybody else. So ODB goes out in the game against the Titans and wears I'm going to call it a Rashard Millet watch because it was $350,000 watch he wore during the game. During a football game where he's a wide receiver, he gets tackled if he catches the ball enough.
Right.
So
also blocks.
that's drip, right? He was dripping on that one, right? So we go down this rabbit hole. Once Ian Rappaport announced it, all of a sudden you had someone named Jameson said someone needs to address the Titans violating the Browns. Right? 'Cause they definitely got violated. Then someone photoshopped the watch and put 1343 on there because that was the final score.
Military time right there.
That's mean.
Then we had, what is this? Sam Fredable. He said Odell Beckham Jr. wore a $350,000 watch while playing football. The watch is said to be accurate. It knew exactly when the Browns were going to lose.
All the time.
Oh, that's funny.
Then you have
That's funny.
Steel Champ saying he was just trying to find out the correct time the Browns will be relevant again.
Ooh.
What else do we have here? We have K-Hoop Fantasy. No, he's talking football. Maybe should be worried about winning games instead of what he'll look like in his next Vogue shoot. Yeah, because you know that's coming. And they said he didn't even get paid to wear this watch.
No, he did it just because.
Just because. How's that money feel?
I mean, you said you like his lifestyle.
I didn't say like his lifestyle. No.
I tried to slip that shit on.
And then we have Master from Bleacher Report. He was like, Odell Beckham Jr. really rocking a Richard Mille watch on the field. And he said the Browns are 1-0 for that reason alone.
No, they ain't.
Yes, they ain't.
He said today he was actually. I'm
gonna
going
do
to
it
keep
again?
wearing.
Keep
Yeah.
wearing it.
He said the watch is plastic, and I guess the rule is not so much about wearing
Hard
jewelry;
stuff.
it's about hard stuff. And I do kind of feel him.
Why?
I mean,
Because AB can't keep getting all the goddamn attention. That's why.
Why
That's
is
the
a
only reason
plastic
why.
watch worth $350,000?
That's a separate show.
We're in the wrong business.
I feel him though, because if it was a $20 watch, if it was like one of those Casios that you wear, no one would have said anything. Or if it were a different receiver, no one would have said anything.
I don't feel him.
don't
Don't
think
wear
so.
the fucking watch. Just go play football.
Yeah.
I'm sure there are other players that are wearing a watch. I'm sure of it.
But if there is, why?
Yeah, why? What do you? For what?
There's no reason.
I'm a very practical person. I will never wear, like, for what? I have a cell phone. What do you need to know the time for? You know when the game starts. When
The only reason why
What you
people
wearing
wear
the watch for?
men
On the
wear
field.
watches now is because of accessories. You don't need a goddamn accessory on a football field. Like I
If he
said,
could get some playoff wins on his wrist, he'd be all right.
Let's get to our game picks. Speaking of wins, I believe our historical lovable loser, Red O, confirm this for me, Dad. He had the most picks this week, winning
He's in
picks.
second. He's tied with second.
he made a mistake.
I made a mistake.
Tied for second.
He's tied
okay.
for second
The
with
king
everyone.
is still the king.
He's tied with everyone except the last place person.
Who is?
You.
All right, let's get to it. Real quick, shout out to Jameis Winston, Cam Newton, Kyler Murray, and Lamar Jackson. Those 4 black Heisman Trophy winners are all going to be on the field playing against each other this weekend, the first time that's ever happened. So I want to give that a shout out. 3 of those 4 teams are trash and have no hope. So we figure we get...
Ken, if things go the way for us this week as they did last week, RG3 might be out there throwing touchdowns.
But he didn't. Did he win a Heisman?
Yeah.
Oh, that'd be fine.
We have 3 Heismans on our team.
Let's get to our game picks. First of all, we've got the Seattle Seahawks, who are coming off a home win over the Cincinnati Bengals, 22-21, and they're going to take on the aforementioned Pittsburgh Steelers. I wanted to include this one on here because, based on how Pittsburgh looked, listen, man, it could be a long season for them. Anybody picking the Steelers this week? Kev?
I am. I just don't see them playing this bad at home again. And Seattle was kind of shaky.
Yep.
They already have a bad rep of traveling on the road. I don't think they'll beat Pittsburgh in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, I think they're still a proud franchise, and I think the coach is going to get in their ass, and they will show up this week.
Ben plays different at home. You got the West Coast coming to the East. And again, Seattle did not look good versus the Bengals.
Same reason pick. I got Pittsburgh winning.
I'm picking Seattle.
Good for you. You got to make up ground.
I'm picking Seattle. Yeah, I got to start. And you start now, right? You got to start now. Listen,
Tell us
how are they going to score points? How is Pittsburgh going to... Juju Smith, I saw him for
Seattle
4
ain't
years.
the Patriots.
It's not about them being the Patriots. It's about how is Pittsburgh going to manufacture
Ben
offense.
plays completely different at home.
You can't...
Kenyon, trust me. I want you to be right.
Yeah.
Well, we'll see. We've got a rematch of the NFC Championship game this weekend. The New Orleans Saints are coming to L.A. to go against the Los Angeles Rams. The Saints, we saw them last night. The Rams, kind of shaky, but they did go, West Coast team, go back east. They beat Carolina at home. Strong performance from Greg the Leg Zuerlein. Todd Gurley was, he was a little bit like Devin, just up and down. Who you got, the Saints or the Rams? Junior Blue.
I got the Saints because they will have the refs on their side also.
Dad.
I actually have the Rams just because I think they really want to get that get back from last year. And they got some holes.
Is Eric Weddle playing this week? I don't think so.
I'm taking the Rams. I trust Drew Brees to be calm, but it's a lot of players on that team who won't be. And I think McVay is smart enough to have taken care of this game more than he took care of game one.
All right.
I think McVay has a plan.
Okay, Kev?
Rams. I don't have a particular reason. It just feels right.
Okay.
Just like the Titans pick.
I'm picking the Saints on the road. The Saints are a better team right now. And then we've got the Monday night game. We've got the Philadelphia Eagles going to Atlanta. Philadelphia started off really shaky at home against Washington, and then they got it right in the second half, winning 32-27 behind a monster game from Deshaun Jackson and also Carson Wentz. They did lose Malik Jackson, however, for the season. And then you have the Atlanta Falcons, who lost to the Minnesota Vikings on the road And Kirk Cousins only threw 10 passes in that game. Why? Because they could not stop the run. Philadelphia, Atlanta, Monday night. Dad, who do you got?
Did you see how the Washington receivers were running free against Philly in that secondary?
Yes.
Falcons.
At home. Red O.
I'm taking Philly.
Okay.
I think they're just more talented, and I think I would trust Carson Wentz. He woke up and he did his thing, and I think he's going to do
Is
it
that
again.
because he's your fantasy quarterback?
Yes.
All right. There it is. Kev.
We haven't successfully picked an Eagles-Falcons game correct in 4 years. Omar, who'd you pick? You said Philly?
No, I said Atlanta.
Oh, shit.
No, I said Philly. I said
No, he said Philly. He said Philly.
I'll go with the Falcons. It's probably going to change Sunday morning, but let's go with Falcons.
Junior Blue.
I'm gonna go with the Falcons because sort of like Pitt, they can't play as bad as they did last week.
Yeah. I also, Kevin, I might change by Sunday morning. I can guarantee it's going to be a shootout.
It's definitely going to be a shootout.
Take the over in the game. But I would take Atlanta in the home opener.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not feeling confident about that.
It's not a guarantee.
It's not a guarantee.
Yeah.
All right, this has been another episode of 32 Kings Road. Once again, follow us everywhere on social media. Our handle is @TheLeagueAM. Check out our website, theleagueam.com. Follow us and subscribe to our YouTube channel, League Ambassadors. And we will see you next week. Cheerio.
I won't be sober.
Cheers, man.
We busted in, we broke down the door, we came to win. TLA season 4, it's a whole new game. We the agents of change, whole new scope with a whole new range. It didn't exist, so we built our own lane. We all knew the risk, it's a cold ass game. But first and foremost, we reppin' the fans because we nothing but fans living out our dreams. Crossing the pond with these 32 teams. There's only one road and there's only 5 kings.